Alzheimer's disease affects more than 6 million Americans, and early detection can be a game changer. We bring you the story of a local woman living with Alzheimer's who shares her hopes alongside a volunteer from the Alzheimer's Association working to raise awareness about the importance of screenings. Together, they highlight why catching the disease early could make all the difference. Joining me now is Fort Myers resident Lee Belanger, who is living with Alzheimer, and Amy Schenk, an Alzheimer's Association volunteer. Ladies, thank you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
We're very glad to be here.
So, Lee, I was going to ask you how you're doing, but you're obviously doing great, which is why I'm so excited that you're here, because I think we all have a perception about what Alzheimer's patients look like. So maybe you could start with, in sharing your story, how you're doing now, but as well as how life has changed for you since your diagnosis.
Well, I'm very happy that I was diagnosed, first of all, because I was diagnosed very early, which means that it gives me some time to have quality time and to do the things that I know will slow down Alzheimer's, and it's making my life much more enjoyable as a result.
So many exciting, I'll say news in the area of research and trials. Can you tell us, how significant is as far as what we're seeing in the clinical trials, in these investigations? It's an important time right now in this research, right?
Sandra, it absolutely is, and particularly with nearly 7 million people in the United States who are living with Alzheimer's. This is a very exciting time in Alzheimer's research. So just a couple updates. There are 2 medications that are currently available. They've been approved by the FDA, and what they've been shown to do is to be helpful for people who are in what we call the early clinical stages of Alzheimer's disease, as well as mild cognitive impairment. That is a significant change because before they were available, we didn't have any medications or approaches that were considered disease modifying. And disease modifying, if you think of it, it changes the trajectory of the disease. And in this case, it slows it down. So that's very exciting. And it's also very exciting that when those 2 medications, and their names are Leqembi and Kisunla, when they were in the research studies, they were actually in research studies or centers here in Southwest Florida.
So Lee, you were really passionate about being part of that clinical trial. What has the process been like for you?
Well, it's just been amazing because, first of all, I was diagnosed because I went to the Neuropsychiatric Research Center here in Southwest Florida. We're so blessed to have that facility because they do clinical trials on Alzheimer's, and that's the #1 dementia that we're seeing throughout the world. So what I did was I had gone to a talk that they'd given at Shell Point where I live, and I heard that they did these clinical trials, but before I even thought about that, they were talking about early memory screening. And I said, well, I really should go because the other day I just had an incident where I couldn't remember how to start my Instant Pot. And I said, this is not right. I've had this Instant Pot for 3 years. So I really should get a memory check.
Wow.
So I went to the neuropsych, had the memory check, and it was probably, I don't know, they didn't tell me what it was, but they continued to ask me if I would be interested in being in a clinical study, and I said yes. And the exciting thing for me is that there are 2 kinds of proteins that define Alzheimer's, and the one that the medicine is on the market for is not what I have. I have another one which is called tau, and there is no medicine for that. So it was a no-brainer for me to go into this study, which hopefully will remove tau and make a difference in my life.
What have you learned through this process, and what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about Alzheimer's?
Well, first of all, I've been living with this disease that I know of for 4 years, and I probably had it for 10 years. So the thing that I'm learning is that it's very important to have that memory screen and find out whether you have the disease, because as Amy said, there's many things that you can do about it. And the biggest misconception perhaps is that people think there's nothing you can do about it, and there certainly is. And I could name all kinds of things I'm doing in addition to having the infusions that I get also. And I can go on with some others if you like. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, so, so for example, I exercise, and I think two of the most important exercises are cardio, assuming that you don't have other heart issues, because that again gets oxygen to your brain. And the other one is balance. As you get to be my age, more and more people fall. And the way to try to avoid that is to learn how to improve your balance. So that's extremely important. Also, what you eat. We all know this, that we shouldn't be eating all these sweets and butter and things like that. But I have really taken to heart, and I try to follow the Mediterranean diet. I try to stay away from sweets. And not that I don't reward myself every once in a while, but I think that's also a very important thing to do, because that also has been proven to make a big difference in your overall health. And that's something you need to take care of as well.
Amy, for people listening who might be concerned about themselves or a loved one, your advice, when is it time to get checked?
The changes that we see, particularly with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, aren't some of the changes that we may be experiencing. So I'd say, have you ever had one of those times where, you forgot an appointment?
Sure.
Or you lost something on your desk? These changes are a little bit different. So back to your point, make notes about what you see. Because one of the things, and it doesn't have to be in depth, but gosh, when I did this, I had to tell Mom 4 times about the fact that we have an appointment. So the first thing to do is kind of document what you're seeing.
I'd like to ask Lee, what is your message to folks out there who might be concerned they're going to be on the same journey as you, or maybe they think a loved one is going on the same journey as you've been on? Your message of hope to them.
Well, it's not just hope, it's get your memory screen and get a baseline, because just as you get a mammogram if you're a woman, or you get a PSA test, which you absolutely look at as soon as the results are there, you should do the same thing with your memory screen, because that way you can follow how your brain is working and get some help right away. And as soon as I got the diagnosis, thankfully, from Neuropsychiatric Research Center, I was actually relieved, because I knew there was something wrong because of what I hadn't been able to do with my Instant Pot, and now I had an answer. So my message to people is get that memory screen, take dementia seriously. The Alzheimer's Association says it's increasing at least 140% since 2020, while the heart and cancer are both declining, which means that it's just going to keep escalating. So we know that many of us are going to have this disease. And so the question is, get the diagnosis, treat it, and make sure that it slows down. And in some cases, just you die of something else, and that would be my goal.
Lee and Amy, I thank you both so much for your time.